Hi class, today I'm going to show you how to make a design like this using paper, tissue paper, and some glue. These will be put together into a large quilt mural during Kindness Week later on in the year. To begin this project, the first thing we're going to do is we have this white piece of paper and you are going to put your name on the back. So I'll just write my name, Mr. A. You can just put your first name. And then I also want you to write a class code. So your class code would be whatever grade you're in, plus the first letter of your teacher's name. So for example, if I am in Senor Burgos's 5th grade class, I would put 5 for 5th grade, B for Burgos. Okay, and I'll help you out with that class code during class today. That's going to be the back of our project, so I'm going to flip that over. Now, once I have my name on the back, I actually don't really need my pencil for the rest of the day, so I'm going to get that out of the way. At this point, I have a few other supplies that I need to get. Okay, in the back of the room, you are going to see laid out some paper towel. I want you to have your project underneath the paper towel because this project is going to get wet and sticky today, and this will just keep it from sticking to the table, and it'll make it so you have less of a mess to clean up. This cup here has a mixture of school glue, like the white glue in the bottle, and water. Okay, so it's just glue that I've watered down, and then we're going to use the big brushes today. All that stuff is in the back of the room, and each kid is going to get one of these things. One paper towel, one cup for themselves, one big brush. A note about those big brushes, don't leave them in the cup like that because this brush is so big and this cup is so small, the slightest bump can send this thing spilling, and then you have a big mess to clean up. So what I want you to do is when you're not using the brush, just set it on that paper towel right next to your project. Okay? Now, I've got my piece of paper with my name on the back. I have my paper towel underneath. I have my brush. I have my cup of glue water. The next thing, and these will be sitting in the front of the room, is you're going to pick from one of these two sets of tissue papers. I've got warm colors and I've got cool colors. I want you to pick from one box and one box only. I don't want you mixing and matching, okay? So let's just say for this project, I'm gonna go with warm. And so I go to the warm box. You're also going to get a little black bucket like that to keep your project in, or to keep your tissue papers in. And I'm just gonna take a pinch. I don't need much. I can always go back and get more. The key thing is I just want to make sure I have a variety of those warm colors. Now I chose warm. You can choose cool if you want, but once you make your color choice, stick with it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to stick all of this down to your project. You are ready to begin your project. Begin by stirring up that cup of glue water. Next thing that I do is I cover my white paper with a few brush strokes of that glue water. Now I'm taking those pieces of tissue paper and I am laying them on top of my white paper to try to cover it up and fill it with color, trying not to leave any white spaces behind. And then lastly, I do a gentle layer of that glue water back on top of the tissue paper. This is where you're going to get your paper towel to put underneath your project, your big brush to do the brushing, and your cup of glue water. This is where you are going to get your tissue paper for your project. Remember, you can only choose from one bin. Once you make your choice, either cool color or warm color, you need to stick with that choice. And we need to do a single file line here. So that line is going to shoot from the front of the room all the way to the back. At this point, we will pause the video so kids can begin working on their projects. Remember, before you can get supplies, kids should start by putting their name and their class code on the back of their project. As kids start to finish, we can play the rest of the video for cleanup instructions. All right, class, now that we are done with our project, just so you can see here, I have all the pieces lying down flat. I did a layer of the glue I added a layer of the tissue, and then I added over the top of that a really light layer of the glue. You don't need to press hard when you do that. Now that my project is finished, this project needs to go onto a drying rack. I will indicate to you during your class which one rack I want you to use. It's really important that we keep your class's projects on the same drying rack, not split between the two, because that's going to help it so I don't lose them later. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put my project on the drying rack, and then the second thing I'm going to do is put back any extra pieces of tissue paper that I might have, and of course I've got a bucket of water to put your brushes in. I really want to soak those in water, otherwise they're going to dry with that glue on them and the bristles will harden. And we can also put back the glue cup where it belongs, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that right now. So here's an example of what a drying rack shelf should look like when we put our project away correctly. I want you to fit 3 projects per rack. If we only do 1 or 2 per rack, I'll probably run out of space by the end of the day. If we try to do any more than 3, the chances of them sticking together are pretty high. Notice how these each have their own space on the rack and they're not overlapping. If you set your project down like this, then that person whose project yours is next to is going to stick to yours while it dries, and then we have to try to carefully rip them apart, which doesn't always work out. So when you put yours away, that's the right way to do the drying rack. All right, so right back here, this is where I want your brushes to go. You don't need to wash them out in the sink. We'll have your teacher take care of that. But just put them right in there, give it a good soak so some of that glue can come off the bristles. Then this cup of glue that you were using, simply put it back with the rest. Do that carefully, because you can see that that would be a mess if those spilled. While you're back here, this would probably also be a good time to wash your hands. And of course the rule is we can use 2 people at the sink at a time. Each kid gets their own faucet. This part of the room, in between the tables there, that's the best spot to line up if there is a line. Remember, the front of the room is where you got your tissue paper from. If you have any leftovers like I do, just make sure you put it in the right one. And then the black bin can go right back where it came from. Okay? Once you've done that, your spot should be mostly clean. You are responsible for wiping down and drying off your own spot. I would recommend using some paper towels and some water for that. And then right down here, I have blank paper and coloring sheets that you can use during a free draw time. And any of the usual drawing supplies like crayons, markers, or colored pencils or regular pencils would be available to you during your free draw time.